Why our partner wants to destroy themselves, destroy us and the relationship, and what we can do about it. Why we are actively destroying, betraying our own best interest, and how we can respond. Now, to understand this pattern, we'll first look at the bell curve of innovation in relationship to any technology adoption. So you think of a cell phone, it is currently considered an innovation, and when it began, there were just one or two people using it, and it moves to a point where the majority of people on the planet are using it. And then in the nature of evolutionary technology, it will become obsolete. There will be a time when only a few people use a cell phone and when it would be sheer stupidity to go backward, right? So what this is saying is that the technology, which is simply a pattern of energy, the pattern of energy that once helped you survive, once helped you thrive, will eventually kill you. It doesn't matter what the technology is. Some technologies have a 5-year, a 10-year, a 20-year. Some technologies have a 1,000,000-year lifespan, meaning for a period of 1,000,000 years in a given environment, the technology is beneficial, but as the environment changes, at some point, right, before we crawled out of the water, gills were useful. Right now, gills would kill us, right? How long did that take? 500 million years? I don't know the exact time frame, but there is a point at which every protocol goes from being unknown to cutting edge to the majority protocol to being obsolete. So that's one thing to understand. The next thing to understand is that we each inherit biologically the family tree on both our parents' sides, right? So it's called a family tree because what we get from our mother and father is the inner dialogue between their entire family for multiple generations, right? If we could listen closely at a biological level, we'd hear Aunt Sue going mad in our father's side, and we'd see the silence in response to that insanity. Let's not let anyone know. And we'd feel the fear of being caught, right? We'd look away in confusion at the adultery of Aunt Sue, right, on our father's side. The entire family system is a biological code that enters our bloodstream, our body, our cellular memory. And this is the gift and the curse, right? This is a series of generations of technology, much of it obsolete, much of it toxic, but it is a confluence of signals of patterns of energy, patterns of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being that live in the body memory, that come together in a chaotic mess or a synergistic, a synergistic well-being, or some range of that, some chaotic mess, some suffering, some benefits, but it's given to us as a blessing because our mother and our father survived, right? That's all it means. It means that this jumbled mess of cruelty, bliss, stupidity, insanity, love, confusion, schizophrenia on this side of the family managed to keep its generations alive. And that's an accomplishment in an ecosphere in which 99% of all life forms that the planet has ever seen are dead, right? 99% of all the bloodlines are dead. 99.9% of all the people who have ever been are dead. But the probability field that kept mom alive and kept dad alive long enough to give birth to you, they're part of the 1% that won life's evolutionary lottery, right? Of all the different probability fields, that one worked, right? That one worked. And so it is an inheritance in the body. Now, the child stage in psychological development is one of unconditional surrender and acceptance of both family systems. And in bad relationships, in bad marriages, these systems are at war with one another, right? One person is trying to stay safe by hiding. The other person is trying to stay safe by asking for help. That's in your body. That's a lose-lose dynamic. Because if the one side asks for help, the other side feels like they're not safe because they can't hide and ask for help at the same time. And if the side wins that's hiding, says, oh good, we're hiding, this part feels like we're going to die because we're not asking for help, right? And that's in your body. Now, the adolescent, this is the state of copying. It is the state of innocent belief and faith in the giants, in the cult, in the family system. And it is one of loyalty by adherence to the code that has kept the family system alive. Now, in order to individuate, you have to move from sympathy to antipathy, from child to adolescent, and you must rebel against the shape of the cult, the shape of both family systems. Or you are of no use to evolution. You are of no consequence to life because you're just a flow point. You're giving the same shitty code you were given to the next generation with zero editing. It's like someone deposits nuclear waste on your land. You do absolutely nothing with it, and you pass it on to the next generation, right? It's meaningless, right? Nothing changes. In order for you to play a role, in order for you to be significant in evolutionary terms, you must become an adolescent as defined by criticism, rejection, rebellion, and antipathy to the enormous level of confusion, stupidity, hypocrisy, nonsense, insanity, cruelty, and waste that is part of the code that exists in every family system. Right? There isn't a single thing that you've been given that couldn't be iterated easily into something 10 times better. The question is, are you up for the job, right? And the first step in that is antipathy. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to beat my child just because dad beat me, right? Fuck that. That's bullshit, right? And you cannot iterate that unless you go into antipathy. Now, here's the problem. In an insecure, sociopathic environment, as you reject the known, you face the unknown. Here, 99.9% is unknown, not known to you or to anyone else. Here is the family, the familiar, the family system. That is known. Now, the greatest fear of a traumatized cult is the fear of the unknown, because the unknown equals out of control. Out of control, right? You cannot be in control and in unknown territory, right? It's one or the other. The only way you're going to control the outcome is if you keep doing the things you've always done, with the people you've always done them with, in the places you've always done them, for the reasons you've always done them, in the same way you've always done them. And voila, the outcome is exactly the same. Hooray, right? Right? The definition of insanity would be to do all those things with the same people in the same way and expect a different outcome. Right? But the family, the familiar, is repeating the cycle with the same people for the same reason, right? A traumatized cult does not want to face the unknown because it doesn't want to be out of control, because it doesn't trust life, having been repeatedly traumatized, right? And the less you trust life, the more you want to be in control. It's perfectly understandable. But you cannot rebel against the known. You cannot go into antipathy with the status quo if you are frightened of the unknown. So it is a crisis, and large segments of the population have never left the childlike state of innocent loyalty to what was in an unexamined life, right? There's that old story, right? You know, the fiance was watching his partner bake a ham, and she cut off both ends of the ham and put it in the oven and baked it. And he said, why are you doing that? And she said, my mother did that. He'd never seen anything like it. Why would you cut off the ends of the ham, right? And anyway, so one day he met the mother and asked the same question. You know, your daughter cuts off both ends of the ham. She said, yes, of course. He said, why? Why do you do that? She said, my mother did that. And so she must have known what she was doing, and so I've always cut off the both ends of the ham. And finally, one day he met the grandmother, and he asked her, he said, why do you cut off both ends of the ham? She said, I didn't and couldn't afford a pan that was big enough, right? I had one pan and one oven, and the ham was too big for the pan. And so I had to cut off the ends of the ham in order to, in order to get it to fit in my pan. Now, the younger two, the mother and the granddaughter had giant ovens and giant dishes, but they never bothered to understand the reason that in that situation, right? If you were in Europe during the plague, people who drank alcohol survived, right? Because they didn't know it, but it was transmitted in water. And so if you were an alcoholic in the Middle Ages, you had a better chance of surviving cholera and various things that were spreading in the water. And so, don't drink water, drink beer would be an intelligent thing for that period of time. Not so much anymore, right? If you drink alcohol all day and can't keep a job down, meanwhile the tap water is pure, then the protocol has switched, right? And so what we're getting at is when unquestioning copying occurs through multiple generations, right? First of all, it's guaranteed that the best practices of 500 years ago are likely to be the worst practices of today. So when those things go on unquestioned, there is a tendency for one to unconsciously do horrible things for no good reason, simply because they've always been done that way. Now, it's no different in a cult, right? Every culture has as its root word a cult because cults get a hold of certain patterns of behavior that made sense, 200 years ago. And then the cult defines themselves not as a living, breathing intelligence, but as the people who eat this and do that, right? There was a time when lard and apple pie was good for you, right? When you worked in the farm for 10 hours a day, you came in depleted of calories, lean and muscular, have a bit of lard, right? Have a bit of apple pie. That sugar was good for you. But walk back and forth to the TV 5 times a day, sit in a comfortable couch, do absolutely nothing, go online and watch movies for 3 hours and eat lard and apple pie, it'll kill you. Right? It's the same habit in a different context. Right? And that's what happens with blind loyalty, childlike, cult-like repetition. So there are two forces that stop iteration. The first force is the loyalty of the child. I don't want mom and dad to feel bad. I don't want to criticize mom and dad. I don't want anyone in my family to feel like I'm better than them, that it's not good enough for me. It's good enough for you, Mom. It's good enough for me, says the child. No one's going to criticize my parent, says the child, right? No, your dad's bad. My dad's cool, right, says the child. So childlike loyalty, the definition of love from a child is unconditional acceptance, obedience, and surrender. That's the love of the child. And the adolescent betrays that love in order to love life, right? Because the child betrays evolutionary potential. Every pattern that refuses to evolve and iterate is consumed by other patterns of energy that do evolve and do iterate. So when you are loyal to the stagnant protocols of your family line, you are killing that line. And 99% of all current patterns will be dead, will be extinct, will be no more in the next billion years, right? There's only 1% of the very most intelligent iterative protocols that will remain a billion years from now. 1%. We are that 1% today. 99% of all that was is dead, is no more, will never be repeated. Right? It's died out. Those languages are dead. Those ideas are dead. Those paradigms are dead. Those people, those bloodlines are dead. We are part of the 1% that's still here. And the ones that die out are those that blindly follow the past without iterating and responding efficiently to the present. So the loyalty to the past, to mom and dad, equates the betrayal of the future of the family line, right? The betrayal of life and its potential. But the child's idea of love is, I'm going to be like you, Dad. I'm going to drive a truck like you, Dad. Well, electric vehicles coming along. No, I want to drive a truck like Dad, right? Pollute the environment, spend all the family's money on 10 gallons of gas and drive an old Chevy pickup. I want to be like you, Dad, right? The love of a child is loyalty, is unconditional copying. So that's one powerful force. The next force of the child is fear of abandonment, right? Many cults, many families will not accept change. You can just look at the statistical behavior of families around lesbian and gay behavior. People willing to murder their own children, right? Or the Islamic families that would rather kill a daughter who has been raped than make a change to their cult. Right? We live in a cult where we kill people who have been raped. Well, why not change that cult into a healthy cult where we protect the innocent and stop the rape? Well, that's an insult to our fathers, an insult to the past, right? Well, 99% of cults are dead. 99% of all cultures in human history are dead. And a billion years from now, 99% of these cults that are here today will be extinct, right? So what's going to survive? Killing off your family every time someone rapes them? Not very efficient. Pretty dumb, right? So that's dying because there are more intelligent cults that say, let's help you get over that and strengthen the family. And from a scientific, statistical probability field level, that's a better cult, right? All cults exist on a continuum of intelligence. Some use very little time, money, and natural resources to create very high levels of well-being. And some use very high levels of natural resources, time, and money to create lots of unnecessary suffering. So you have dumb cults, you have intelligent cults. And everything is dumb from the perspective of the future, right? And everything is intelligent from the perspective of the past. We all seem very smart from the perspective of 5,000 years ago, right? Someone 5,000 years ago was maybe they've never rode a horse, and we get into a car and drive off. They think we're really smart. Someone 5,000 years in the future looks back and say, those dumb fucks, what were they thinking, right? The equivalent of leeches, the equivalent of dogma, blind stupidity, right? So everyone's stupid in the past, and everyone's brilliant in the future, right? So we are the gods of 5,000 years ago, and we are the idiots of 5,000 years in the future. And because of that, 99% of what's going on today will not be going on. Reading will not be going on a billion years from now, right? Mental telepathic pictures through microchips, 10 times faster than reading. And that'll probably be replaced by something else in a few thousand years from now. But by the time we get to a billion years, there is nothing. These bodies, obsolete a billion years from now. The food we eat, obsolete. The way we produce electricity, ridiculous. Living on this planet, absurd a billion years from now, right? A billion years from now, 99% of everything we know will be gone and replaced by something that is 10 times more intelligent. That's been going on since the moment of the Big Bang, right? When the Big Bang happened and poof, in the first second, all this stuff, suddenly there's 10 meters of energy. It was the size of a pea half a second ago, and now it's 10 meters big, right? But that's nothing, right? Compared to the next second when it's 30 meters big, and the next second when, and that exponential growth, right? So there is loyalty and love for the parents. There is fear of breaking away from the tried and true. Why? Because a majority of iteration fails, right? Why do you go to a restaurant and almost everyone has French fries? That's been a winner, right? Potatoes fried up. I mean, you'd think they could come up with something more creative, but no. 99% of all the new recipes invented this year will not make it to French fry status. But French fries, they've already made it, right? So it's a safe bet, right? 99% of all new ideas given birth to this year are going to fail. But the current idea, let's dedicate our life to making money, that's still, a lot of people are doing that, right? It's a pretty dumb idea, but it's got a better odds statistically than 99% of the other ideas, right? So every time we go off into something new, so this is the second, like there's a gravitational pull around the status quo, right? And part of the gravitational pull is loyalty. Part of the gravitational pull is desire for certainty, right? Part of the gravitational pull is fear of the unknown. Part of the gravitational pull is fear of being out of control, right? Part of the gravitational pull is laziness, right? It doesn't take any energy, any thought to do exactly what your parents did just because they did them. It's about as dumb as you can be. I do this because that's what my parents did. I'm a Republican because my parents were Republicans. We come from a long line of Republicans. That's it. That's all you've got. Yeah. I don't have to think. I don't have to analyze. I don't have to consider changes. I don't have to try anything new. Right? I'm a proud member of an unconscious dogma. It doesn't matter what it is, Democrats, this, whatever it is. The easiest thing in the world is to do exactly what you've always been doing because it requires no new training. Right? So laziness is also pulling towards the family, the familiar. Laziness. Lack of alternatives. I mean, you can't just leave the known and just replace it with air. You have to have a viable alternative to make a pivot from an old pattern to a new pattern. And where's that going to come from? Right? So a lack of thinking, a lack of design, a lack of skill to create that. Lack of design skill, thinking skill, and implementation skill. Right? We don't teach people to think or design or change in school. We teach them to memorize the past, and we reward the children that can pass the test by doing so. And that's what we get, right? So all of these things are pulling us to the past. Now, the other thing that's pulling us is cult identity. Sociopathic, dumb cults protect their own. And the way that they know that you're one of them is if you're normal. And the way that they know if you're normal is if you're doing what everyone else is doing. Right? So, you will get the protection of an entire cult if you speak their language, do what they do, eat what they do, think what they do, regardless of how dumb it is. So, all of these forces are pulling our partners to the past. Now, the problem is, the majority of what is being done is killing us. At one time, it was a step forward. Now it's killing us. Meaning, a majority of what human beings are doing today, they would be better off not doing that at all, doing nothing compared to that. Meaning there are so many things that are worse than neutral. You could think of smoking. You could think of the way many people drink. Think of the way many people, I eat a Twinkie after dinner. Yeah, you would be better off if you just didn't do that. Don't even worry about replacing it. Just don't do that. And I binge watch these shows. Yeah, don't do that. If you just sat there meditating, doing absolutely nothing, you'd be better off. Yeah, but I do it. I always do it. Yes, we know, right? So your partner is killing you. You're killing your partner. We're killing each other. We're killing ourselves. For these reasons, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of being out of control, loyalty to our parents, laziness. We're betraying our future, our children's future, the planet, the ecology, our partner, our marriage, day after day after day after day. So you want your partner to stop lying. You want your partner to stop cheating on you. You want your partner to grow up and stop doing the same fucked up things that their mother did that are making them as depressed as their mother was. You want your partner to put you first, right? Just don't do that. Don't do that anymore. Stop interrupting me all the time and putting me down. Are you going to be better off if I divorce you? Probably not. Would you be better off having someone who loved you and loved talking with you? Absolutely. Then stop doing it. No. I don't know why. I just criticize and interrupt you, criticize and interrupt you, criticize and interrupt you. I destroy my future. I destroy myself. I destroy my marriage. I destroy my relationships. I destroy hope in the future. I look at what I'm doing, and I have no hope in the future. Goodness gracious, I'd have to be a blind idiot to not notice that I have destroyed every single fucking relationship that I've been in. From the first relationship until now. Hope in the future. Give me a fucking break, right? How can you have hope when you watch yourself day after day after day do the same fucked up things you've been doing ever since you learned them back home? Ever since you were a member of this cult, right? No, there's no hope in the future. There's no optimism. Bitterness, cynicism, I'm always going to fuck it up, right? But why, right? Because when you want your partner to stop destroying your marriage, when you want your partner to stop undermining themselves, when you want them to care about their future because you love them, of course they want that. Of course they want that. I wish I could be someone who stopped fucking up my marriage. I wish I could be someone that followed through. I see the possible me over there and I want it, right? The trouble is we don't understand how difficult it is to break orbit from an old body, right? Elon Musk is trying to get 150 tons of payload off of this planet. Right? Starship. It's incredibly hard to get out of orbit, right? But these are what you must face. If you want to break orbit with your past, with your present, you must face the child's fear of betraying the parent, and you must betray the parent. You must face your fear of being out of control and let go of control. You must face your distrust of life, and you must trust life. Now, I don't know if you're paying attention here, but what you're asking for are miracles. 99% of people are not going to do just those three things. Just those. And we're just getting started. They're not going to do it. They don't trust life. They are loyal to their parents. They don't want to be out of control. And so they don't change. It's not personal. You wish the best for them, right? You wish the best for you. If they would just stop fucking up your life, you could love them and you could live happily ever after, but they're not doing it. Every fucking day, they hammer away at your weak point. Every fucking day. Until you just want to punch them in the fucking face, right? Could you please shut the fuck up? No. No, you're asking too much of a traumatized reptile in a human form. It's too much. How do you know it's too much? Because 95% of people are not going to do it. They'll pay lip service to do it. They'll promise to do it. They'll try to do it and fail. And they won't fucking change. And it's not your fault. It's not their fault. And it's not personal. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Why don't they love me? Every child asks. Why are my parents beating me? I must be unlovable, right? No, it has nothing to do with you. You are being beaten because the uncertainty, the terror of the unknown, the unfamiliarity, the confusion that your parents would feel going from generations of beatings to doing something new is more than two frightened children in grown-up bodies know how to deal with. So that's why it has nothing to do with you, right? So it's not personal. And it's important to understand what we ask of our partner, right? We ask them to give up the child love of their parents. We ask them to grow up. We ask them to think about things when they don't know how to think about things. We ask them to be out of control. There's another thing. The fear of losing oneself, losing identity. How do you keep a solid identity? It's very easy. You do exactly what you've always done with the same people you've always done them with, for the same reason, at the same time, in the same place. I know who I am. I'm the one that plays golf here every fucking Sunday, regardless of what happens. You mean your wife is grieving at home right now with the loss of a relative? Yeah, well, what the fuck are you doing on the golf course? Go. No, this is who I am, right? This is who I am. This is what I say. This is what I do. This is what I think. This is what I feel. This is how I am. And if you don't like it, go away, because I'm not changing. Why? Because I might lose myself. I might get confused. I might get lost, and then I won't know who I am. You know how terrified people are of that? I'll lose myself. I'll get in a relationship, and I'll lose myself. I will change, and I won't know who I am. Get away from me, you dumb, stop loving me. Get out of here. This is who I am. I finally found something that seems moderately stable. Get it, and then you're coming along, changing me? Get away, right? You're asking them to lose themselves and trust that there's another self that could be found, and then they'll have to figure out how to get good at that, and they're going to make mistakes in a cult that shames people for making mistakes. They'll feel humiliated at failing in a cult that shames and humiliates people for failing. Right? You're asking a lot. Give up your loyalty. Give up your domination. Give up your nice notion. Give up your laziness. Face the unknown. Trust the world. All because you're worth it. Right? All because you're worth it. Aren't I worth it? All the love I've given? No, you're not. Not for them. Not for 95% of the population. 95% of the time would murder their own mother rather than face these crises. Right? And they do. Parents kill their children all the fucking time. They know what's going on isn't good, but I might have to lose my job to address their drug addiction. So I just hope that somehow magically a 13-year-old kid is not going to overdose. Well, how's that working for you, right? Well, talk to the many parents whose kids have died of overdoses, right? No, people kill themselves and kill each other all the fucking time. Not because they want to kill you, not because it's about you. It's not about the kid. It's not about you. It's about what they have to go through in order to change. Face the biggest fear that human beings have. The fear of the unknown. The fear of being out of control. The fear of change, right? Now, if you find someone who's willing to die for you, you're dealing with a 1%, right? If you're an amazing enough person that you can find another amazing enough person that looks at you and says, this person is worth dying for. Because every time you face the unknown, you face your fear of death. King George or St. George, St. Michael, slaying the dragon. What does that mean to protect the virgin? That's the warrior that is quite dead and deaf in our cult. That's the warrior in every man and woman that is willing to go to bat and risk death to fight for innocence, right? And if you notice in the myth of St. George, that's why he's a saint, right? Don't expect this from the average person. Don't expect this from your partner. Don't expect it from yourself. 99.9% of people are not saints because it's hard. So what are the town people doing in that myth, right? And this is telling you what the majority will do. The townspeople take a maiden who is completely innocent. Think about that for a moment. Everyone in the entire town agrees to take an innocent maiden out to the rock, chain her to the rock, and feed her to the dragon. Feed her to the reptilian brain. Feed her to fear. Feed her to ignorance. Feed her to cruelty and stupidity. The entire fucking town will not face the dragon. What's the dragon? Death. The threat of death. Every time anyone changes in any significant way, oh, I think I'll have cinnamon in my latte. That's not a change. No, but if you're talking about changing careers, you could die in the midst of that transition. You could die going on a big trip. You could die going to a different country. You could die changing religions, right? Particularly if you're amongst zealots. You could die coming out as a homosexual. You could die in so many different ways, making a significant change. Everyone who makes a big change faces biological, instinctual fear that says, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm out of control. I don't know what's going to happen. I will do anything to stop feeling this way. And the past beckons and says, hold on to me. Come back to me. Don't try anything new. And all your fear will go away, right? So the innocence of possibility, all the dreams go out on the rock and are killed by fear, right? And literally, there was a time when literally, right? Girls offered up as rape offerings to the opposing army. Don't burn our city here. Rape our daughters. Go, get out, get on there. Do what they say, right? Literally. So, who's the saint? Right? What does George do differently? He goes to battle with fear. He goes to battle with the unknown. He faces the dragon in a fight to the death. Right? And don't give me any of this bullshit that it's guaranteed that George is going to win. George goes down in a lot of these stories, right? George is going to leave his comfy career, go out, start a new company, bet his family's savings, and then he's going to fail over and over again, right? Because he hasn't learned entrepreneurship in a cult that doesn't bother to teach anything useful in high school, right? And then his wife's going to leave him. His kid's going to say, you're a loser, Dad. He's going to start drinking, and he's dead. Hell upon hell upon hell upon hell, and he's fucking dead, right? And the other possible Georges around are looking at that and saying, follow your dreams? Give me a fucking break, right? I'll just embezzle a bit more money at the old corp, right? Sell out a few more of my dreams, a few more virgins to slavery, prostitute a few more of my hopes, or the cynicism of a steady paycheck? Nah, I'm not going out and fighting that dragon, right? So George is a saint. Saint Michael, Saint George, right? And we wouldn't have heard about him if he hadn't killed the dragon, right? But not all of them do kill the dragon. There's a lot of them that go out and face the beast and don't come back, or come crawling back in a half-broken state that says, I'm never going to try anything new again. You come back a broken man, a broken woman, all courage knocked out. Just keep the unknown away from me. Right? So how many St. Georges have there been in history? I count one, right? So St. George would go to bat with the family system. St. George would stand by you rather than kill you because you were raped. But St. George is a saint because a majority of people are governed by fear. And a majority of people are too cowardly to own it. Majority of people are not going to say, no, I've given up on me, I've given up on you, I've given up on this family, and I'm not going to do anything about it because it would require me to face the unknown. So guys, get ready for a mediocre, bitter, cynical life. I'll drink to take the edge off, try to keep the violence to a minimum, but there's no facing the dragon around here. There's nothing for you to be proud of. I've given up on that a long time ago. That's normal in our cult, right? So what do? Well, the average person doesn't want to think about this. Why? Because they have no interest whatsoever in overcoming this gravitational force, right? They want to think, hope for the best. Let's hope for the best, yeah? How's that working for you, right? Hope for the best. Be positive, meaning do absolutely fucking nothing. Don't face the unknown whatsoever, and hope that miraculously some deity will deliver you from the stupidity that you're perpetuating for you and your family, right? So your partner is trying to kill you. Your partner is killing you. Your partner is undermining you. You're undermining yourself and your partner. You're destroying vast amounts of virgin possibility every fucking day. And you're doing it not because you're bad, not because you're special, but because you're normal in your fear of the unknown, your fear of being out of control, your laziness to design a new way of doing things, your incapacity to think, your love for the reputation of a tattered family, right? The comfort, the familiar, the comfort of the familiar, they're all calling you to stay the same, to stay the same. And the only thing you have to do is betray your partner. You're never going to support them to do their dream because that would take you into unknown territory, and they're never going to support you. All you have to do is betray the future, betray life, betray your potential. That's all you have to do. And you don't have to face any of this. The child pretends that this is all about them. They must be unlovable. But this is what your parents had to face. Most of them didn't enjoy hurting you. It's just if they grew up in a sadistic system, it was too terrifying to be kind. They didn't know what it was. It was very unfamiliar. All kinds of strange things started happening. Their identities started collapsing. They didn't know who they were. Beat that child. Now they have certainty. It's just so easy. So easy. Right? So what do you do, right? And I think the first step is to acknowledge how big this is. This is a fucking big deal. 95% of people won't change anything at all. Right. 4% will change something. 1% will make a big change for you, for life, for the future. And they are the reason that evolution persists. But it's a big deal. And you need to give yourself reserves. Like King George didn't go out without a lance. King George had a horse, had a spear, learned tactics that allowed him to face probable death. And with a little luck, strength, courage, discipline, and skill, George survived. Fred didn't. You haven't heard of Saint Fred. He didn't kill the dragon. He went out, he thought about it, and he thought, oh, this is too much, and, scuttled back into the town, right? Steve, he didn't make it either, right? He went out and told the dragon righteously, you're not going to take our virgin. The dragon bit him in half. George was shocked. I thought I was on the will of the Lord, right? So you didn't hear of Steve either, right? Paul went out and said he was going to fight the dragon, but hid in a cave and made up a pretend battle, but the dragon's still there, right? You heard of George. So, and that's a minority. That's a minority. And remember that the majority of the villagers willingly sacrifice innocent virgin children rather than face the fear of the reptilian brain, the terror of the sociopathic instinct, the fear of the unknown. They appease. They sell out, right? You need to understand that it's a big deal. You need to prepare for war. Get a certain amount of money in the bank. Get a certain number of skills under your table. Map out the territory. I can make a little headway here. Every time I do this, I just have a fit. I can't do anything here. Map out the territory. Find the weak point of your opponent. Develop confidence. Do little changes and learn that you can survive. Find a partner that's worthy of changing for. Not some floozy that's going to betray you. The moment you go out to change and face the unknown, right? To uphold her dignity, right? She's off sleeping with your best friend and lying about it. Right? That's not good preparation for killing the dragon. It undermines morale. If you find someone worthy of fighting for, it boosts morale. Because every time you think that is someone worth dying for. And that's what you need. You need to find something or someone worth dying for. Because you are risking your identity, your life, your reputation, your money, or you're just not playing big enough. You're risking something big, so you need something worth dying for. That's the gift of an amazing human being. It's rare to find someone that's worthy. You look at that, you'd say, I'd be willing to die for them? What? So they can sit around and watch TV bitching and moaning? Maybe they'd be better off dead, right? So finding something or someone that's worth dying for, developing the skills, developing reserves so you have a chance. Developing a technique, learning the weak point, becoming intimate with your enemy, with fear, with trauma, with terror. Learning history, learning mythology, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with trauma, when you're facing the terror of survival, you can't look at it directly. You need a mirror to cut off the head of Medusa. You have to look at it indirectly. You need to look at it through metaphors. You can't look at it directly. Learn the maps of transformation. Find someone who's worth dying for. Find someone trustworthy, worthy of your trust. Become stronger. Become more capable. Develop confidence. Explore the territory with a guide. Ask for help. 10% of therapists know what they're doing. Figure out what you're doing enough to find who those 10% are. Odds are, if you try 10 different therapists, one of them is going to know what they're doing. Mythology, it doesn't lie. Find the oldest texts in mythology, take it as a guide. Learn the territory. Listen to your dreams. Make time. Go inside. Look at where and analyze where you've come from and why that worked at one point. Find the areas you're still cutting off bits of ham just because that was always done. And ask if it makes any sense. Throw that stuff out. Gather reserves. Learn from successful people. If you do all that, you increase the odds of being part of the 1%. The 1% that will face death to become a much better human being for the love of something more, in service to something more. And this is the gift of loving something or someone more than yourself. The love of God, of Goddess, can be that for some. The love of life. You're not worth it. You're not worth it. I may or may not be worth it, but life is worth it. I do this in service of evolution because I may die. Very likely, I will not succeed. But if I do, evolution will take a leap forward because my experiment worked. And you're not worth it. And you betray me every time you can. You're so fucked up you don't even understand the territory. But life, the possibility of who we could become as a species, that's worth it. That's worth it. I do it for life. When you find something or someone that you can love more than you love yourself, it provides tremendous armor against laziness, cynicism, apathy, fear of the unknown. And when you love something that's worth loving, you can let go of the innocent love of the child that's just trying to make dad feel comfortable by copying him. Right? And then you can stop killing yourself. Then you can stop killing your partner. Then you'll have something worthy to pass on to the next generation.